He has done so in order that the church may be more fully a city set on a hill, an ark of salvation sailing through the waters of history, and a beacon that illumines the dark nights of the world. And this, not so much through the magnificence of her structures and the grandeur of her buildings, like the monuments among which we find ourselves, but rather through the holiness of her members. For we are the people whom God has chosen as his own, so that we may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light.
30s. And so he never had the chance to visit. And we hear the applause, and Pope Leo XIV comes out onto the stage here in the Paul VI Hall.
If I'm correct, tell me that it's something, I think he'd at least wanted to be in a leadership role within the church and maybe dreamed of the Pope one day, but as I understand it, while a lot of people grow up playing all kinds of games, he, even very young, right, was playing priest?
Yep. That was one of his favorite games, and our parents fully supported it. I used to tease him about it. A lot of us did, but he was set in his ways. He if he wanted to play priest, Mom would break out the ironing board for him, throw a white sheet over it. I think they spray painted a cup gold to pretend to be a chalice. So yeah, he was definitely called to something special. It was evident throughout his childhood. People would always say, "You're going somewhere in the church," and he wasn't, but 8 or 9 years old. "You're going to be Pope one day." And,
wow.
It's just been from when he was, like I say, probably from birth and going forward. And he never vacillated on it. It was always, "I'm going to the priesthood." I don't know that I would say he ever expected or wanted to be elected Pope, but one of our talks, we did talk about it, and he said, "Well, it's not my choice, but if I'm elected, it's God's will. I will, of course, accept."
Sustained applause from some 6,000 journalists from around the world who've been in Rome covering the election of Pope Leo XIV. Now, his message to them, and by extension, the world. His opening comments in English, a glimpse of the pontiff's humor and humility.
Buongiorno. Good morning, and thank you for this wonderful reception. They say when they clap at the beginning, it doesn't matter much. If you're still awake at the end and you still want to applaud, thank you very much.
The soft-spoken 69-year-old with a serious message about the church standing in solidarity with journalists imprisoned for their reporting the truth. He called for their release. His message in Italian, translated through Vatican TV's Devin Watkins.
The suffering of these imprisoned journalists challenges the conscience of nations and the international community, calling on all of us to safeguard the precious gift of free speech and of the press.
Telling journalists the words you use, the style you adopt is crucial.
Today, one of the most important challenges is to promote communication that can bring us out of the Tower of Babel, in which we sometimes find ourselves, out of the confusion of loveless languages that are often ideological or partisan.
The Pope urging the media think about how messages which inform and influence are framed, saying peace, a repeated theme in the speech, begins with how we look, listen, and speak about others.
Calling each one of you to strive for a different kind of communication, one that does not seek consensus at all costs, does not use aggressive words, does not follow the culture of competition, and never separates the search for truth from the love with which we must humbly seek it.
After his speech, the Pope seemed in no hurry, lingering with reporters and others who were in the hall, outside the auditorium, shaking hands and seemingly giving his full attention to whoever he was speaking with, for the few seconds they were engaged.
But again, the message was in the language itself to a lot of people, especially because he didn't speak in English when he appeared on the balcony of St. Peter's as the new Pope on Thursday, nor did he speak English yesterday when he made his first appearance on the balcony again for Sunday prayer. So it suggests that he's taking a different posture when he's speaking to the world's media by speaking the world's universal language of English. And it's really something to hear the Pope speak not just in English but with an American accent, and some might even say a Chicago accent.
As details emerge about the conclave that saw Cardinal Robert Prevost walk in and Pope Leo walk out. Italian Cardinal Pietro Parolin was reportedly the early frontrunner through the third round of votes, but in the end, the cardinals say there was a higher power at play.
I took a look at Bob, and he had his head in his hands. I couldn't imagine what happens to a human being. And then when he accepted it, it was like he was made for it.
Australia's Cardinal Mikola Bichok, the youngest in the conclave, aged 45 years old, giving his insight into how the 133 men decided so quickly to elect the first American Pope in history.
Because that was the work of the Holy Spirit, who did through us, through cardinals.
And what was it like to be cut off from the outside world for more than 24 hours?
That was the best time of my life.
And it seems watching the movie Conclave was a popular preparation choice.
Did you watch the movie though?
Yes, I watched the movie, but actually it was controversial, especially about prayer.
Unlike the film, I think this was a very, very lovely and congenial and fraternal time together.
That took a cardinal from Chicago to the balcony at St. Peter's Basilica.
I texted him a message to say, I think you'd make a great pope, but I hope for your sake you're not elected. And he wrote back and said, I'm an American, I can't be elected.
At the Vatican.
I sincerely hope that each of us can say that these days unveiled a little bit of the mystery of our humanity and left us with a desire for love and peace. For this reason, I repeat to you today the invitation made by Pope Francis in his message for this year's World Day of Social Communications. Let us disarm communication of all prejudice and resentment, fanaticism, and even hatred. Let us free it from aggression. We do not need loud, forceful communication, but rather a communication that is capable of listening and of gathering the voices of the weak who have no voice. Let us disarm words. Let us disarm words, and we will help to disarm the world. Disarmed and disarming communication allows us to share a different view of the world and to act in a manner consistent with our human dignity. You are at the forefront of reporting on conflicts and aspirations for peace, on situations of injustice and poverty, and on the silent work of so many people striving to create a better world. For this reason, I ask you to choose consciously and courageously the path of communication in favor of peace. Thank you, and may God bless you.